The basic classes of list group yesterday I showed you. So the basic classes list group example. Yeah, yesterday we saw these list group basic ones. So in that we have a list group items. How to use list group and list group item. Now let's see how we can use the list groups. One more example. List group some panels or simply navigation.html. Okay, list group navigation, how we can handle that. So first, in the list group navigation, so we need to include in the head section link relation style sheet href bootstrap this css bootstrap.css, and here we are adding one more option, that is link relation style sheet href. So fonts and css all.css. If necessary, we will use them. And we need to script source is equal to, so node modules in that script source, right? Yeah. Script source is equal to node modules in that jQuery dist jQuery.js. And we need one more script source, that is node modules bootstrap dist js bootstrap bundle.js. Okay, fine. So in the body section we have a div and we have a class. So container class is defined here. I'll keep it as container some fluid. Okay, container fluid. And here I am designing a div. I will put the class as row. In the row we will put 2 columns. So class is equal to col. It will occupy some 4, total 12 now. And another column will have class is col 8. It will occupy 8 columns. So that means out of 12 columns, 4 columns, the left div will occupy, 8 columns, this right div will occupy. Okay. In the left div, I am adding so in the left row, I am adding a left column, I am adding another div and a class as a list group. We are adding a list group. As a list group, we are defining a list group. So for this we will give an ID as a list some tab. Okay, and we will put a role as tab list. Usually navigation related lists are known as tab lists. Okay. And here we are defining anchors. We need navigation. So anchors navigation, we are defining a class. And in the class we are defining list group item. list group item, list group item. And not only that, this list group item should have a navigation. It should have an action. Then we have to add list group. We have to add a list group item action. We will give list group item action. Okay, and it will have an ID, some reference ID will be there. So let's keep an ID. That means role in a tab list. It will have a role called tab. It is a tab role. Tab list contains collection of tabs, and it will have an ID. So it will have an ID. So for example, we are defining the ID as a, suppose list ID as a list, and some JavaScript, HTML like this we can give. So this is ID. Currently we don't need any navigation here. So first I will ignore this ID. Currently we don't need navigation. Here I will write as suppose HTML tutorial. Okay. Now the same I need another link. So two more links I need. All are having the role of tab actions, and this is CSS tutorial, and this is CSS examples. Okay, examples, and this is like some JavaScript. Okay, and when you design this, actually in the design you can see the appearance will be like this. The appearance will be like this. HTML tutorial, CSS examples. We have defined that appearance. So actually that is the appearance. Okay. Now right side we have to display. These don't have any actions yet. Actions, we will give the actions. Of course, you can make anyone active. How we can define active? Let's keep the first one as active, and you can see it will be active, right? So that is the basic of row. So I will define the second one. That means right side. This is the second column. In this column, usually we need to display the content. Then we will keep a div, and the class for the div we generally use tab content, tab list and tab content. Two combinations are present. Tab list contains items, and tab content contains the details, and ID is so here we are defining a detail tab, detail content, detail content details, right? So here we are defining an ID like content details. Okay, content details is an ID given for this. Okay, inside this, now for every topic we need to put a div. So div, this class will have as tab pan. Tab content will have tab pans. Every topic will have a tab pan. Okay, and it will use a fade effect. Fade effect we saw in carousel. It will use a fade effect. Okay, and it will use a show option. By default, it will display and it will be active. First topic will be active. And ID we will define it as suppose list HTML. ID as list HTML. Okay, that is or HTML, anything we can give. Actually, this is called as a tab panel. So we can give the role as tab panel. The role is tab panel. The roles are not mandatory. Later in jQuery, they will help us. So tab panel. Okay. In the panel, we want to display that information. The panels are defined with pan and fade show active. Now inside this, I will keep a heading. So HTML tutorial. And I will put some paragraph here. Let's add some paragraph information there. So I'm adding some paragraph of information here. Yeah. For HTML, some paragraph. Okay. We are adding some paragraph of information here. Fine. I can keep in a P for keeping that paragraph. The same thing should repeat for other two topics also. But what we do is copy and paste. For the second tab, so we will not use active and show options. Just we will keep them as fade. Keep them as fade. And we will change the ID. This is for CSS. Okay. And this is like CSS examples. CSS examples. Okay. Similarly, I will add one more, and here also fade. This is JS, list JS, and role is tab panel, and we can display this content. Okay. So these are the basic options defined. Now important when user clicks on the topic, that topic should come. That means you know. So click how to write. Generally, we have to write an option. Data toggle. We have to write data toggle. Data toggle is equal to list. It has to perform data toggle to list. All should use data toggle to list. All should perform the data toggle to list. And the target, what should happen? Target, what should happen? We need to define the target by using href. Because these are links, you can keep buttons. If you are using buttons, you have to use data target. So here, how to define href? Href is equal to hash. So it has to navigate to list -html. Okay, this href should navigate to list -css, and this href should navigate to hash list -js JavaScript. That's how we need to define data toggle and target. Target is given for the tab panels. Tab panels. Tab panels are defined with the tab pen, like content will be like this. I click on CSS examples, then CSS examples will come. I click on JavaScript, JavaScript tutorial will come. Heading, I need to change here. We will change this heading as JavaScript tutorial. Okay. Now you can have any content there, large contents also we can define. Now you can see CSS examples, JavaScript X tutorial, HTML tutorial. So we are bringing that information and we are displaying that information. We are just using a tab panel for that. Later, you can use a navigation panel for tabs so that it can get a good appearance also. That we can do later. Initially, suppose, so we have this container. I will keep this in a container, just a container. And usually it will be like this. And at the at the top, when I am defining the style, so dot container, so dot container display we can put as flex, display as flex, justify content to center, then align items to center. So we can keep such appearances, so that keeps the content to center. Now we can add already a margin is there, margin top we are defining as suppose 30 pixel. That means a little bit margin is adjusted for them. Right. Now we are using rows and columns. That's the concept here. We can collect and display only the content that you want here. Right. So that is a basic example of how do we use list groups. And list group action will make that active symbol when it comes into active. Target is defined by using href. Earlier you are scrolling. This time we are not scrolling. We are just using fade. And a tab pan, what happens is it will display the content by switching between the tabs. Tab pan means it will display only one particular view at a time. It will not show multiple at a time. So for that we have to use tab pan, right? And all this we need to keep in a tab content, tab pan, and the list group is common. And we use the role as tab list. Here only two options, data toggle, we need to define list, and href, we have to define those IDs. So which topic it has to redirect, you have to define them. So with that, we can design this type of example here. I kept only general, we already learned intra-document navigation. So we can simply handle this type. There are several techniques. I will tell you others also. Like a navigation bar, tabs, so many are there. If we can learn JavaScript and jQuery, we can handle this type of designs in a more simple way instead of using it, right? So here, one additional thing what we done is just to organize the right side and keep everything is. So here, what are the list group classes? So list group classes we have. So one is list group, another one is list group item. We have list group item action, and we use active and we use disabled commonly. Those are the list group options available. These are commonly used options. And one more important is, while here we used tabs in Bootstrap. Later we have different tabs also. For that we have class tabs in Bootstrap. Classes in Bootstrap. Okay. One, we are having tab content. we are having tab panel panel, we are having tab pan pan, and we can use fade, and we can use show, and we can use active. Any panel need to be get active, then we have to use these options. So we have tab panels and tab contents like this. So we can design according to this. One example using this is an example for that. I will copy it and I will keep the content here. So I just kept some content. You can keep so many things according to your requirements. That means we can create like a shopping categories, and user clicks on the categories, we can get into them, display those contents and show those contents. That depends on your requirement, how you want to show. If I show one example, you know how to handle others also, right? So this is one important list group, how to deal with list groups. Okay, next important in Bootstrap, after understanding list groups and how to use these list groups, right? Now one more important option is in the Bootstrap, we have Bootstrap model. Actually, Bootstrap model is mostly used for displaying dialog boxes. Actually, models are used for dialog boxes. Right? So usually these dialog boxes are required in future so many times. So dialog boxes will pop up and display messages. Suppose you want, we showed alert boxes, right? So alert boxes and dialog boxes. Alert boxes is actually, alert boxes are meant for showing in the page alerts. Model boxes are nothing but they will display so that user can confirm and continue with the work, right? So for that we need some important classes. So how we can define the classes, let's see. Means how we can define the classes. So usually, so for models, what are the options we need to design? Actually, model is used for displaying a dialog box dynamically, so that any confirmation message can be displayed in dialog. Any confirmation message can be displayed in dialog, right? For that, what we need, let's see. So what are the classes? So Bootstrap classes are, so we have model is one class. We have model dialog is another class. We have model content is another class. Model content is another class. We have model header, another class. We have model title, right? These are the basic options with the model body, okay, and the model footer. Actually, model looks like a card, but it is used for dialog boxes. So how models are designed, how models are used? One simple example we will see. And they require JavaScript functions actually. Uh, JavaScript functions are very common. What are the JavaScript functions options we need is, if you are using for link, we have to use data toggle. That means you should know that model is controlled by using jQuery attributes. What are those attributes? We have toggle, data toggle, and data target. This is common. Data toggle and data target. This is common, right? Let's see how to design, how we can handle it, right? So, for example, so at the top in the header section, I will copy this. Okay, let's go to a new file and model.html. I'm adding all these script head section. In that we are adding these scripts. Okay, jQuery is important, so we need that. So body. Okay, so in that we have a class container. Okay, and here we are adding a button. So I will put here is model in Bootstrap. Okay, just I will keep here a button. So its type is equal to button, and class is equal to btn and btn danger. And here I will keep the text as delete record, something like this. So that is what actually the button is. Okay, below the button I will keep a div. This div should work as a dialog. Then for dialogues we have to use model. That means we are using here, so a class as model. I want with fade animation. Okay, fade effect should come for model. Okay, one more important option here is, by default I don't want to show it. If by default you don't want to show it, actually we can use an attribute tab index. Tab index is an attribute which can be used -1 to hide and 0 to show. -1 to hide means it is not there in the page, 0 to show. Actually tab index can be defined in that. So, and we have to give a role. Role is used as dialog. Usually role is defined as dialog. And one more important option is, of course, how to close anything we learned. You know, data dismiss. Am I right? Data dismiss is required for closing. To close any element, you need data dismiss. Which one to close? Target. And to turn on and off with the same button, then data toggle. Data toggle, once click on, again click, it will off, right? These are the options we need to use actually. Fine. So these are all options we need to define. Okay, let's design the model and see now. Here, model, okay, this is model, and we will give an ID. ID is nothing but delete record. Okay, that is an ID. And we will give here tab index as -1. That means by default it will not be displayed. And role, its role will be a dialog role. Its role is a dialog role. The role is dialog. We are giving the role as dialog for that. Okay, that's enough. Now in this model, what we have to do is, we need to keep inside the model a div, and this class should use a model dialog. Okay, in the model dialog we have to put another div. and this class should display model content. Model content. Okay. In the model content, we can put header, body, and footer. So that means here I am keeping a header. I am keeping a header. So that means another div. So class like model header. In the header, so here I will keep a heading which can be kept with a class as model title, model title. And here I will give as delete delete record. Delete record is the title. Okay. Now you can put a button which can display close so that user can close that, right? Then how we can define? We can keep a button here. How to create a close button already we learned. Type is equal to button. Type is equal to button. Class is equal to close. Close. And here I will put a simple cross symbol. And what should happen? So data dismiss. Data hyphen dismiss. Dismiss. What it should dismiss? It should dismiss the model. So model should dismiss. That is what we give as a close button. Data dismiss is close. Model will close. That is for creating a close button. Already we know that. That is header. Then after that, I will create a div. This class is model body. Model body. So here I will display a message. Are you sure? Want to delete this record this message I am giving. That is a general text. You can put any text you want there. Okay. After that, we will design a class called model footer. Model footer. Usually model footer will have a button. One type is button, and this button will have a class as btn. And the btn, suppose I will define as primary. So I will define as btn primary. And here I will define as so an option like some okay. Okay. On okay, what to do we will see later. That is the secondary part here. So we don't want anything inside it. Next, another option, another button. Button type is equal to button and class is equal to btn and btn danger. And here we will put as cancel. And it should we use data toggle, data dismiss. What it should dismiss? It should dismiss that model. That is common. That means we have to dismiss model. Okay. For okay, we haven't written any logic. For that, we need to write a logic later. In JavaScript and jQuery, we can write that. Currently, this is just a model design. Now, important is this model should be turned on and off. This model should be turned on and off when user clicks on this delete record button. Delete record button. So for that delete record button, so we need to add. So this should data toggle. This should data toggle. Which one? Model. And the data target. Data we have to use target. Data target. Target is equal to data target is hash. It should work for which one? Delete record model. Data target indicates so on click which one should execute. So this delete record should execute. Okay. Data target is that. So data target, data toggle, data dismiss, these are general options that we use for buttons. Now what happens is in the appearance for this, you can see it will show a model Generally it will display delete record. I click on this delete record button, then it has to fire up a model and show. Model is just like a dialog box, right? Click on that, a dialog will come. And you can have a cross button here, you can have a OK or cancel button here, and background will be blurred for this. So I click on OK, then it will be performing some functionality. If we write, we haven't written. Cancel, we return. Cancel means it will cancel the dialog. Such dialogues are very much important, especially when we are working with JavaScript and jQuery. Any message we want to show, because JavaScript and jQuery have alerts, but they don't have good effects. You can put with your own dialogues, you can create and you can display the contents. Suppose you want to show a bill summary, you want to display some registration details, all such things you can create in a dialog. So it's not like that. So you keep only this. You can fill up a login form, you can keep a login form, you can keep a registration form, right? So when user clicks on login, you can display a login and display. Actually, this model, when we are using the model, right? So models can be kept with so many effects also. Actually, model can be kept with so many effects. So usually models, if they contain lot of information, we can even put model dialog as a scrollable. If model dialog is scrollable, then it contains lot of contents which you can scroll. So that means you can use attributes like, so you can use model dialog, and you can use model dialog scrollable. Scrollable also you can add. Model dialog scrollable is nothing but if more information is present, then it will put a scroll bar. It will put a scroll bar so that we can easily scroll the contents. Easily scroll the contents. So that is what actually scrollable is. Scrollable is, right? So you can even keep centered. So model dialogues can be centered. So we can add model dialog centered, dialog centered, dialog centered, centered. But for that we need to create proper content, then it will be better for appearances, like how to define the options. Anything you can put a registration form, login form, so many things we can add into that, right? So generally what we can do is, suppose I kept this model dialog and so model dialog centered. I given model dialog centered. So I will refresh this, delete record. It will be centered the page. By default, we given as normal. By default, it will center the page. Model dialog centered, it will center the page. So here we are just giving a general options. Usually what we do is, suppose here we are adding some options like not delete record. We are adding option like user login. And in the body, we are designing a simple form. And so I will put a div. Here we have a class as a form group, and here we have a label, so username, and we have a div and a text box. Input type is equal to text, and here we are having a class as form control. We are just keeping here a simple option, a form content keep being displayed here, and here we have password and input type as password. Then the footer, what you are displaying, can have the options like it can have the option like login and cancel. Usually that is what we defined. That means the text for this we have changed. the text for this button we have changed as so login, login. That is for login, and I click on login, then a login dialog will come. Whatever you want, you can keep inside it. It depends on your requirement. Such dialogues are very much required for us. If we want to design like this something, then usually what happens, we need to depend on a lot of manual CSS writings, alignments, and JavaScript jQuery functions also we have to write. In JavaScript and jQuery, I will tell you without Bootstrap how to write like this our own, right? But this is important. This is important. On login click, what action to perform, how to handle those buttons and functionalities. Those we will see in later stage how to handle them. How do we work with them? Right? This is the modal dialogues. Modal dialogue. Actually, suppose see here. One more point is here. Suppose you are defining style and model, that is dot modal dialogue. Modal dialogue. Modal dialog, suppose width I defined as 200 pixel width for modal dialog. So modal dialog width as 200 pixel width, then it will not affect because it is actually defined inside the Bootstrap file. So many times, remember one point, this is designed in a Bootstrap with a predefined width as auto actually. Then according to the content, it will adjust the width. Then if you want to change, you have to go to the Bootstrap and change. Means if you want to change the width and effect, right? So Bootstrap CSS file, there you can go and you can make change into the modal dialog. Because it depends on other contents to kept inside it. So, but I told you that some we can change, but some we cannot change directly. We have to override by using Bootstrap CSS options. This is a simple option how we can handle models. And usually, if there is more content to show, then you can put it scrollable. So if you keep scrollable, then items can scroll and display. Scroll and display. So that's what we can manage by using this. Right? So an example for this. So colors, effects, all your wish, right? You have BG, we have text colors, all you can apply according to that. And what is the key point here is actually tab index. We have defined here tab index. This tab index is important. Suppose tab index is kept to 0. If it is kept to 0, you can see it will be displayed. But currently, by default, we need to keep it -1. Why tab index -1? Because I will tell you in navigation bar now how to handle that. 0, 1, 2, 3 tab indexes are configured. So actually 0 is to show. And not actually 0 means show. Usually what happens is if there are several elements on the screen to display in a tab form, and index actually starts from 0. Index actually starts from 0. And -1 means nothing. You are not displaying anything. That approach I will tell you how to add that in navigations and navigation bars, how to define that. Right? Usually, so tab index is important for displaying the models. This is important for displaying and working with the models, right? Tab index is important to configure. That will come later. So initially, even you don't define the tab index also, it will work. But traditionally, tab index is very important. It will be very important, especially when we are dealing with JavaScript or jQuery. That's the reason as of now, you don't give any tab index, it will work, no problem. But tab index is mandatory later when we are dynamically controlling it on the page, right? That's the reason we will keep it, and later we will apply values as 0 and 1 through jQuery. Not changing values here directly. We will apply through JavaScript and jQuery tab index so that it will have an effect for that, right? So this is the basic option of how to use models, how we can design and work with the models. Now, next, after understanding about working with models, example for this models, I will copy and paste this example. I hope you understood the approach what we have done. So generally how to design the model. Remember, order is very important. First, there should be model. In the model, there should be a model dialog. In the model dialog, you have to keep the content. Content should have three separations: header, body, and footer. Footer. So if you miss the order of a dialogue or model or content, then you will have problems in working with this, right? So model dialog centered, model dialog scroll, that must be displayed in this dialog attribute, model dialog option. So when we are using model, you have to define this. So this is one example. I given that example here. And of course, how to handle the functionality on OK, on cancel, those are later options, because for that we need to learn JavaScript and jQuery. Cancel currently working because we are using data discourse. Login is not working because for that we need to write the logics. So later you will learn how to write the logics for that. For that we need JavaScript and jQuery. Next, after understanding this, so we have another important in Bootstrap, navigation. How to handle navigation in Bootstrap and how do we work with the Bootstrap navigation. Here, 2 points are there. For working with Bootstrap navigation, so we use nav bars and nav. So there are two options. One is base navigation. So base nav, so which is navigation. So and another option is we also have a nav bar. So nav bar is responsive navigation. We have two types of navigation: the basic navigation and the responsive navigation. Responsive navigation is nothing but it will change the appearance and the layout according to the device. If you are changing your zoom levels, you are changing the device, then nav bar will be responsive. Navigation bars we can completely design by using these two. Base navigation is not responsive, it is standard. It doesn't have any responsive options. For that we use simple classes. For base navigation we use nav. So we use nav item, and we use like nav link, and we have nav text. These are the basic options generally we use for basic navigation. With this, we can create navigation. You can use some additional effects for them, but one problem is they are not responsive navigations. So these are not much used every time. So because these days we prefer much navigation with responsiveness. That means according to device, it has to change. That we will see how to handle. So it has so many options. It have like nav item, nav link. We have nav tabs. It has option like nav pills. These all I will show you how to handle them, right? So we have option like nav fill. These are basic options, right? By using these options, we can create a simple navigation bar. But that navigation bar is not flexible. So better we can go with flexible navigations. That is by using responsive nav bars, right? Nav bar has some more effects. First, we will see how to use this basic nav. Then we will see with the nav bar. That we will see tomorrow, right? So, and a few more are there. At least tomorrow and day after tomorrow, it will take 2 sessions. We will finish Bootstrap. Then we can start working with JavaScript now. So what I will do is mostly by tomorrow, day after tomorrow, after I finish this Bootstrap, I will give you some tasks. So you have to do the tasks and submit. And if you can submit the tasks, based on that I can carry forward to the JavaScript and jQuery topics. Right now we can start working with JavaScript and jQuery, where we use all this knowledge of Bootstrap, HTML, CSS to make it more programmatically, dynamically, right? Yeah. Then tomorrow we'll continue with this. Okay. Thank you.